commitment. It's one of those words that every franchise throws around when things are good, but only a few dare to confront when things start slipping. And last night, the Golden State Warriors didn't slip, they revealed themselves. They beat the San Antonio Spurs, sure. The scoreboard said, win. But everything underneath said something else. Sloppy rotations, careless turnovers, a team going through motions instead of setting a tone. And then Draymond Green, the emotional engine of a dynasty, stepped forward and said the quiet part out loud. I don't feel our commitment is where it used to be. That's not frustration. That's not commentary. That's a cultural siren. Because when the loudest heartbeat in your locker room questions whether everybody else is breathing with him, something deeper is cracking. And that's the thing about this league. The lights get brighter, the noise gets louder, and the truth shows up whether you invited it or not. Wednesday wasn't about a loss. It was about stats, matchups, rotations, or schemes. It was a mirror, and the Warriors didn't like the reflection staring back at them. Meanwhile, across the same NBA landscape, other teams are rising. Rookies are fighting for a place, culture is forming, and identity is being built possession by possession. But Golden State woke up staring at a question no dynasty ever wants to hear. Do we still care enough to be who we used to be? My name is Vincent Cooper, and tonight we walk straight into the storm. Welcome to Round Ball Rants. Alright, it's time to punch in. It's time for the overnight shift, where the league never sleeps, and neither do we. Lakers at Thunder, OKC 121, Lakers 92. The Thunder didn't just beat the Lakers, they separated themselves. SGA played like a man who understood the assignment from the moment the lights came on. 30 points, 9 assists in 3 quarters, controlling tempo like he had the remote in his hand. Meanwhile, the Lakers spent the night trying to climb out of their own shooting slump. 37% through 3 quarters, every miss feeding OKC's transition machine. This wasn't a loss, this was a message. The Thunder aren't knocking anymore. They're already inside. Warriors at Spurs. Golden State 125, San Antonio 120. Golden State won the game, but they lost the script. 21 turnovers, rotations a step slow, possessions that felt like 5 different guys running 5 different ideas. The Warriors got the win, but even in victory, Draymond's post-game flair made more noise than the scoreboard. Our commitment isn't where it used to be. And watching this game, you felt it. A team surviving, not thriving. Nuggets at Clippers. Denver 130, Clippers 116. Nikola Jokić turned the night into a personal exhibition. 55 points, 12 rebounds. Pure command, pure inevitability. Every time the Clippers made a push, Jokić answered with a shot that felt like bad news delivered softly. The kind of performance that reminds the league when he decides the game belongs to him, there's no defensive scheme built that can take him out of it. Denver rolls to their 6th straight win. Orlando 124, New York 107. The Garden didn't get a show, it got a lesson. Franz Wagner dropped 28 and 9, Desmond Bane controlled pace, and the Magic played like a team that knew exactly who they were. The Knicks, they chased all night. Rotations were late, defensive communications fading, a home loss that felt like a reminder. Discipline beats emotion when the lights get hot. Portland 125, New Orleans Pelicans 117. Shaedon Sharpe is writing a different script this season, and he's writing it in ink. 35 points, a barrage of shot making, and a third quarter takeover that swung everything. New Orleans, without Zion, again fought, but they couldn't match Sharpe's star flashes. Every answers the Pelicans had, Sharpe countered with something louder. Cleveland 130, Miami 116. Cleveland was shorthanded, undermanned, and underdogs. It didn't matter. Jarrett Allen played like a man tired of being forgotten. 30 points, 10 rebounds, and domination in the paint. Miami never sped Cleveland up. Cleveland sped Miami down. When a team with excuses chooses effort instead, you feel it. The Pistons 124, Bulls 113. Detroit wins their 8th straight, behind Paul Reed's latest big night. Hornets 111, Bucks 100. No Giannis. Cal Brenner, perfect from the field. Celtics 131, Grizzlies 95. Pritchard shines as Boston cruises. Rockets 135, Wizards 112. Durant and Sheppard lead Houston's offensive surge. Hawks 133, Kings 100. Jalen Johnson nearly triple doubles in a rout. Suns 123, Mavericks 114. Booker and Grayson Allen stay hot. Phoenix wins their 4th straight. Some games are measured in points. Some games are measured in truth. And Wednesday night in San Antonio, the Golden State Warriors played the kind of game that doesn't show up on standings, but shows up in the soul of a franchise. Yes, they won, 125 to 120. Another notch in the W column. Another night where the veterans do just enough. The spacing looks fine on paper, and the scoreboard tells you the job is done. But it didn't feel done. Not to anyone watching. And definitely not to anyone wearing that Golden State jersey. Because the Warriors didn't look like a team that fought. They looked like a team that escaped. And escapes don't heal anything. Escapes just buy you more time. That's why Draymond Green walked into the post-game presser with a face that didn't match the scoreboard. That's why he spoke with the tone of a man who knows the truth nobody wants to say out loud. I don't feel our commitment is where it used to be. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't rant. He didn't point fingers. He didn't need to. Because when Draymond says commitment, he's talking about the thing that doesn't show up in the stats. The urgency in warm-ups, the focus during walkthroughs, the details in the film room, the fire in transitions, the accountability in the huddles, and the willingness to do what's uncomfortable when nobody's watching. And right now, he doesn't see it. Not in the rotations, not in the energy, not in the body language when a possession goes sideways, not in the collective urgency that wants to find this team. You can win games without identity, but you can't win seasons that way. This wasn't about San Antonio. This wasn't about a November matchup. This wasn't about a 5-point win that should have been 20. This was about the feeling only veterans know. When a team starts slipping into something quiet and dangerous. It's not dramatic. It's not explosive. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps. It shows up in a half-second late switch, a lazy closeout, a turnover that looks unforced because it was unforced, a possession where 4 guys are connected and 1 guy is drifting. It shows up in the habits, in rhythms, in the little cracks that only become obvious once they've already spread. That's what Draymond saw. A team not losing, but loosening. And that scares leaders more than any blowout ever could. This is the quiet identity crisis the box scores can't explain. The young players are hungry, but hunger without structure turns into chaos. The veterans are proud, but pride without sharpness turns into stubbornness. The system is trusted, but trust without intensity turns into autopilot. The front office believes in the window, but belief without unity turns into delusion. Draymond watches all of this like a man who's lived through both sides, championship basketball and the slow decay that hits every great team eventually. He knows what it looks like when the standard starts slipping 1 possession at a time, and he knows how dangerous it is to ignore it. Wednesday wasn't a warning because of the score, it was a warning because of the feel. The Warriors played like a group, sharing the court, but not sharing a purpose. That distinction is everything. Here's the truth that very few teams ever admit. The enemy of great teams isn't failure, it's comfort. Comfort within the system. Comfort with a reputation. Comfort with the assumption that things will turn around because they always do. But dynasties don't crumble in one earthquake. They erode in 1,000 small cracks. A cut that's half speed. A switch that's half committed. A rotation that's half believed. And the Warriors right now, they're living in the space where effort and identity no longer match. They can win games, like Wednesday night, but they can't win themselves until they fix the disconnection we're seeing right now. When Draymond said the word commitment, what he really meant was, do we still want this the way we used to? Or are we just trying to remember it? That is a question hanging over this team. Not whether the spacing works, not whether the rotations tighten, not whether the young guys develop, or whether the veterans stay healthy. The real question is whether the soul of the Warriors is still aligned, because basketball isn't won by talent, or systems, or scoring, or even pedigree. Basketball, at its highest level, is won by a shared purpose. And right now, Golden State has talent, but not alignment. Effort, but not cohesion. Wins, but not conviction. And that's why last night's victory felt like something entirely different. Not momentum, not proof, not reassurance, but a signal. The kind the league notices. The kind the locker room feels. The kind that says, we're drifting, and no scoreboard can hide it. The Warriors aren't slipping in the standings. They're slipping in the things that matter more than standings. Hunger, connection, urgency, sacrifice, and shared identity. These are things that built their dynasty, and these are things that Draymond is terrified of losing. He didn't call anyone out. He called everyone back. Back to the grind, back to the standard, back to the fire that once made them inevitable. Wednesday wasn't a wake-up call. It was the moment Golden State had to decide whether they still respond to wake-up calls at all. And the next game, that's not about basketball. That's about finding out who still cares enough to bleed for that identity that they made famous. Now, after digging deep into the Warriors, it's time to look forward, because Thursday doesn't just bring another night of games. It brings opportunity. It brings answers. It brings the next chapter. Let's spotlight the matchups that matter, the storylines that are alive, and the predictions that keep you ahead of the noise. Toronto Raptors at Cleveland Cavaliers, 7 p.m. tip-off. Cleveland at home, Toronto on the road. The Cavs are building something, efficient, fast, and hungry. The Raptors are still chasing identity, trying to turn talent into consistency. This is a chance for Cleveland to show they don't just beat bad teams, they beat good ones when the lights come on. And for Toronto, will they travel and respond, or will this one slip because of the emotional weight they've carried all season? If the Cavs sweep this one, they might just announce themselves as more than in the playoff conversation. And if the Raptors were able to win on the road, it could flip a switch for their season. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers at the Phoenix Suns, 9 p.m. tip-off Eastern. West Coast, late tip. Indiana visits Phoenix. Phoenix has found some momentum. They're trending up this week. Indiana, they're still trying to define what they are without their full roster firing. For the Suns, this is a chance to keep climbing. And for the Pacers, a chance to show that they can win away, a hallmark of a serious team. If Phoenix wins convincingly, their case for returning contender gets louder. If Indiana shocks them on the road, that would be the first hint of something deeper brewing. The next matchup, we have the Atlanta Hawks at the Utah Jazz, 9 p.m. tip-off Eastern. Two teams in different places. Atlanta on the road, Utah at home. The Hawks are chasing cohesion. New pieces, new roles, big expectations. The Jazz are rebuilding, but the piece-by-piece improvements matter, especially at home. The big narrative. Can Atlanta show they're not just one star away? And can Utah show that the rebuild has legs? If the Hawks dominate, they'll argue, "Watch us," much louder. If the Jazz steal it, they'll say, "We're more than just a rebuild." Teams like Phoenix and Cleveland are riding up. Others like Indiana, Atlanta, and Toronto are fighting for definition. All three matchups feature visiting teams trying to establish road toughness. These aren't exhibition games. These games matter. They can shift the perception on a season. Early season narratives are still malleable, and tonight has a potential to rewrite all of them. I believe that Cleveland will beat Toronto at home. They want to make a statement. In the West, Phoenix will edge Indiana, but it won't be comfortable. Expect a late push. And lastly, Atlanta beats Utah, because I'm buying into their new rhythm this week. If I'm wrong, it's okay. What matters is watching how these games are won, not just the outcome. Alright, as we transition into our next segment, we're going to take a look at 4 young guns rising and catching fire in the association. That's next. The NBA gives you darkness, chaos, frustration, veteran teams fighting with the pieces of who they used to be. We saw that in Golden State. We've seen it all seasons in places like Washington, Sacramento, and Toronto. But the league also gives you something else, something quieter, but just as powerful. Hope. Not the loud kind that comes from headlines or big markets or championship talk. The hopeful kind that sneaks up on you. The kind that shows up on a random Wednesday night. The kind you find in players who aren't waiting for the spotlight. They're earning it. Tonight, we open the Hope Files. 4 young players, 4 different teams, 1 shared thread. They're changing their franchises from the inside out. Let's start in Brooklyn. You don't walk into the NBA as a rookie expecting to fix a franchise, but you can walk in refusing to be swallowed by its problems. And that's where Egor Dëmin is doing. Brooklyn is drowning in losses, in questions, and in uncertainty. But in the middle of all that noise is a rookie who plays like he's deaf to it. 16 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. But numbers don't tell you his real impact. It's the calm, the poise, the patience. He plays like a guy who knows the game is going to come to him, and he trusts himself enough to wait for it. Every decision looks deliberate. Every pass looks measured. Every shot looks earned. Watching Dëmin is like watching someone build a house while the storm is still raging. Brick by brick, moment by moment, refusing to hurry, but also refusing to break. Brooklyn may not find many wins this year, but they found something better. A foundation. Then you look at Shaedon Sharpe, a player who no longer looks like a future star, but a right now star. 35 points, a third quarter takeover, and shot making that felt unfair at times. It wasn't streaky, it wasn't lucky, it wasn't heat check basketball. It was authority. The kind of authority young players usually need years of battles to earn. Sharpe isn't just scoring, he's absorbing responsibility. He's controlling the pace. He's reading defenses like a veteran. He's playing like someone who woke up one morning and decided, I'm done waiting for people to notice. And Portland needed that. Badly. Rebuilds are miserable, especially when you don't have a centerpiece. Rebuilds feel endless when there's no one to accelerate the process. But Sharpe, he's acceleration. He's momentum. He's the promise that Portland doesn't have to wait as long as they thought. Some players rise. Sharpe ascends. There's something happening in Atlanta that casual fans aren't talking about yet, but they will. Because Jalen Johnson is turning into a matchup nightmare before our very eyes. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Stat sheets don't usually tell the truth, but this one does. Johnson is doing something rare. He's becoming a player who bends a defense by simply stepping onto the floor. He rebounds like a big, pushes the break like a guard, finishes like a wing, and sees the game like a connector. And he does it all without forcing the issue. There's no selfishness, no chaos, no wasted moment. He plays in flow, but the flow is whatever he decides it is. Atlanta has been searching for identity for years, searching for someone who doesn't need the ball to matter, but matters the moment that he gets it. That's Jalen Johnson. He doesn't just help the Hawks, he redefines them. And if Atlanta finally climbs out of the almost tier this year, Johnson will be the reason or why. Then we get to Houston, a team with raw talent, real ambition, and a locker room trying to balance youth with sky-high expectation. And right in the middle of that experiment is Sheppard, a rookie who doesn't look like he's finding his place, but taking it. 21 points off the bench, but it's how that stands out. He steps onto the court like a spark plug. He doesn't wait for rhythm. He brings rhythm. He doesn't wait for the opportunity. He creates it. He doesn't wait for permission. He plays like a guy who already earned it. Every team needs an ignition switch. Someone who changes the energy on sight. Someone who turns a flat second quarter into a run. Someone who reminds everyone else to wake up. Sheppard is that guy. He doesn't just score, he activates the Rockets. And when a young team has someone who can shift energy on demand, that's not just a role player, that's part of the culture. These 4 players are adding noise, they're adding direction. Drummond gives Brooklyn something to build around. Sharpe gives Portland belief, now, not later. Johnson gives Atlanta identity and versatility, and Sheppard gives Houston momentum and fire. These aren't just good games on quiet nights. These are signposts, the kind you look back on months later and say, yeah, that's when it started. The NBA isn't defined only by the stars at the top or the chaos in the middle. It's defined by the kids who walk into the league and decide they aren't waiting their turn. These 4, they're not waiting. They're arriving. You know, when you strip away the scores, the stats, the drama, and especially the noise, this league runs on one thing: commitment. Not the social media kind, not the convenient kind, the real kind. The kind that shows up in how you prepare, how you respond, how you carry yourself when nobody's cheering for you. Tonight we saw both sides of it. The moments where commitment slips, and the young players reminding us what it looks like when it's alive. And honestly, it's a reminder I needed too. Because whether you're a rookie trying to earn minutes, a veteran fighting to hold the culture together, or someone out here chasing a dream after a long shift, commitment is the thing that keeps you moving when everything else tries to slow you down. Golden State's got to find theirs again. Brooklyn's rookie might be building his from scratch. Atlanta, Portland, and Houston, they're leaning into theirs. And all of us, in our own ways, are figuring out what we're willing to give to become who we say we are. So if you're listening to this, wherever you are, I hope you keep yours close, because commitment doesn't promise easy days, but it always promises progress. And before I bounce out of here, a quick shout out to our partners at Dubby. If you're grinding late, chasing your craft, or pushing through your own third shift, like I am, head over to dubby.gg for clean, crash-free energy. Use promo code Round Ball Rants to support the show. Thank you for spending your time with me tonight. It means more to me than you know. I'm Vincent Cooper. This was Round Ball Rants, where it's not just basketball, it's therapy with a bounce.